The iPhone 8 is coming out in just a few weeks. Now, I've actually done a comparison between the iPhone 8 and the iPhone 7 Plus. So in case you haven't seen that comparison, the link for that is in the description. But now I want to see how the iPhone 8 actually stacks up against the Samsung Galaxy S8 and the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus. So everything when it comes to the design, the display, specs, camera, features, and so much more. So as always, grab some snacks and enjoy this in-depth comparison between the iPhone 8 and the Samsung Galaxy S8 and the S8 Plus. Okay, so design-wise, these phones are similar yet very, very different. So with the S8, Samsung has introduced this almost bezel-less design. And overall, the S8 and even the S8 Plus, they're actually really, really easy to hold in the hand. And by this I mean that comparing the S8 Plus to an iPhone 7 Plus, well, the iPhone 7 Plus comes with actually a smaller display, so 5.5 inches versus 6.2 inches on the S8 Plus. And yet the S8 Plus actually feels easier to hold in the hand, and the iPhone 7 Plus feels so much larger since it's actually wider than the S8. Now the back is made out of glass, and the edges of the S8 have this really nice shiny stainless steel look, even though it's not stainless steel, so it's actually just polished aluminum, but it still looks really, really premium. The iPhone 8 actually has a pretty similar design style to the S8, so an almost no bezel-less design. The only difference is that the iPhone 8 is actually even more bezel-less than the Samsung Galaxy S8 and the S8 Plus. And then we also get a glass back, so same as with the S8, and this time we actually get a full stainless steel frame on the iPhone 8, so similar to what we had on the iPhone 4 and the iPhone 4S back in the day. So when it comes to the actual design, I actually prefer the S8 more than the iPhone 8 since it's a much more uniform design, at least when it comes to the bezels. The iPhone 8 is much more bezel-less, but then it also comes with this top sensor bar, so in the end it's actually a matter of preference. And then also, if you take a look at the S8 comes with curved edges, meaning that you cannot really see where the side bezel ends. So in the end, the S8 feels just like a sheet of glass, at least when it comes to the sides. Whereas on the iPhone 8, we have 2.5D edges, so 2.5D glass edges. So we do have a slightly curved glass panel, but yeah, the S8 definitely looks a lot better, at least when it comes to the sides, in my opinion. Let me know in the comments, by the way, which design style do you prefer, the iPhone 8 or the Samsung Galaxy S8? Now, speaking of the glass panel, display-wise, we do get two options with the Samsung Galaxy S8. So we do have a 5.8 inches display and then a 6.2 inches display on the S8 Plus. The iPhone 8, however, only comes in a 5.8 inches model. Now, if you compare the iPhone 8, so the 5.8 inches iPhone 8 to the 5.8 inches Galaxy S8, you can actually see that the iPhone 8 has a much wider display, whereas the S8 is actually longer. Now that's because the iPhone 8 comes with an 18:9 aspect ratio display, so it's actually much wider than the standard 16:9. So 16:9 is something like you have on pretty much every single smartphone and most of the monitors and pretty much all TVs. And the S8 actually comes with an even wider display than the iPhone 8, that's 18.5:9. So resolution-wise, the S8 comes with a 2960 by 1440 display, which actually translates to 567 ppi on the S8, and then obviously lower 530 on the S8 Plus, since you do have a larger display. On the iPhone 8, however, we have two resolution options. So we have either a 2436 by 1125. So this would actually be for the entire 5.8 inches display. And this, by the way, would actually translate to a PPI of 462. So still better than the 401 that we had on the iPhone 7 Plus. Or another option is that this resolution, so 2436 by 1125, is only for the entire display area. So it's for the entire active display area, so not the touch bar. And the actual resolution for the full 5.8 inch display in that case would be 2800 by 1242. So that would be the active display area plus the function bar, so the function area. And this would actually translate to a PPI of 528, which is actually pretty much the same as on the S8 Plus, which is 530, so pretty close, yeah. Now, 2436 by 1125 is most likely the case, since we've actually seen this hinted in the HomePod firmware quite a few times, and then the function area, by the way, is expected to be hideable instead of a constant overlay, which would obviously reduce the screen size. So 2436 by 1125 for the entire display area, is most likely the option. By the way, this is also 3 times the Retina resolution, so it's pretty easy to scale up. And then we finally have an OLED display on the iPhone 8 as well. So previously this was a key selling feature for Samsung phones, having those really vibrant colors and those, perfect deep black levels. And now we finally have this on the iPhone 8 as well. And fun fact, the display on the iPhone 8 is made by Samsung. Okay, now moving on to the specs, which phone is more powerful? So both phones are actually really, really powerful, but the iPhone 8 is just a monster in performance. So on the iPhone 8, we have the Apple A11 processor made by Apple. And then on the Samsung Galaxy S8, we have either the Exynos 8895 made by Samsung or the Snapdragon 835 made by Qualcomm. Both are actually being based on a 10nm process. This depends on which region you're located. So US gets Snapdragon 835 and China as well, and then international and Asia get the Exynos model. Now, if we take a look at some actual benchmarks, the Exynos 8895 actually scores a pretty good score of 1974 for a single core score and 6339 for the multi-core one, which is not that bad. However, single core wise, that's even lower than a 2015 iPhone 6s with the Apple A9 chip. Now, if we take a look at the iPhone 8, so these are some leaked Geekbench 4 presumed benchmarks, 4600 for the single core score and 8500 for the multi-core. Now, we've actually had quite a few leaked benchmarks, and all of them are around this region, so around 4500 and 8500 for the single core and multi-core. So we've had about 4 leaked Geekbench scores, so these are most likely the scores for the Apple A11 processor, which again is pretty similar to the Apple A10X chip, a bit more powerful than that. Apple A10X is what we have on the 2017 iPad Pros. Now, just to give you an idea of how insane the scores are on the iPhone 8. So the Apple A11 processor inside the iPhone 8 is even more powerful than the 13-inch MacBook Pro 2017 top-of-the-line model, which is crazy. And it's also pretty close in performance to the Intel i7 7920HQ Kaby Lake processor, which, in case you don't know what or which chip this is the highest end Kaby Lake flagship mobile that you can get. So this is the highest end Kaby Lake processor that you can get for a laptop. And fun fact, this is the exact same processor that you find in a maxed out 2017 15-inch MacBook Pro. Yeah, that almost $4,000 £4,000 MacBook Pro comes with this processor, and the iPhone 8 is pretty close in performance to that. Crazy, considering that this is a phone. Now, when it comes to the RAM, we get 4GB of RAM on the S8 versus 3GB of RAM on the iPhone 8. However, when it comes to RAM management, iOS is just miles ahead of something like a TouchWiz device. Now, I've actually done a few very in-depth videos comparing the S8 with 4GB of RAM versus the iPhone 7 and even the iPhone 6s, which came with 2GB of RAM. And iOS just outperformed the S7 and the S8 by a lot when it came to RAM management. So check out those videos, Ultimate Speed Tests, link in the description. Really interesting to see what a performance difference actually is. And the Samsung Galaxy S8 does feel very, very laggy from time to time. Now, this is especially because of, Bixby, your favorite assistant. Now, yes, I know. You can use a package disabler and disable all Samsung services running in the background if you wish and if you know what you're doing. But I mean, most people won't be doing that. So most people will just, buy an S8 and just use the S8 as it came out of the box. So performance and optimization wise, the iPhone 8 gets a very, very big win here. Okay, so what about the cameras? You all care about the cameras, so which phone has a better camera? Now, this is pretty difficult to tell right now because, the iPhone 8 hasn't been released, but we do know most of the specs when it comes to the camera, and there's so many things that I would love to cover, but I don't want to turn this into a 1-hour video, so I'll try and be as quick as I can. So I'll just give you the reasons why one phone is better than the other when it comes to the camera. So Samsung Galaxy S8 has optical image stabilization on the front-facing camera, which the iPhone 8, by the way, doesn't. But then the iPhone 8 has between a 9 to a 12 megapixel front-facing camera versus 8 megapixels on the S8. Then the iPhone 8 can record 4K video up to 60 frames per second on both the front-facing camera and on the back-facing one. However, the S8 can only do up to 4K 30 on the back one and Quad HD 30 on the front. Then the iPhone 8 comes with a dual camera module, the Samsung Galaxy S8 doesn't, and the S8 Plus doesn't. So only the Note 8 comes with a dual camera module. And then the iPhone 8 also supports 1080p video recording, slow motion up to 240 frames per second, whereas the Samsung Galaxy S8 only supports 720. up to 240 frames per second. So slow motion, again, better on the iPhone. Again, when it comes to the camera, you can only see the quality after the iPhone 8 gets released, but I just wanted to highlight some of the differences right now. Yeah, when it comes to the special features, there's quite a lot of special features that I want to mention. Again, I'm only going to cover the differences between those two. So the iPhone 8 actually it's most likely to come with a ProMotion display. So this is something that we've seen on the new 2017 iPad. So it's a 120 Hertz display panel. And so everything you do is twice more fluid than a 60 Hertz panel like we have on the S8. Okay, what else? Well, 3D front-facing camera on the iPhone 8. We also get Face ID on the iPhone 8, facial recognition, Apple Pay payments via Face ID. We get 3D touch, so haptic feedback for the entire surface of the display. And we also get, on the Samsung Galaxy S8, we also have haptic feedback, but it's only for the bottom section, so for the home button. Then we also get dual stereo speakers on the iPhone 8. So these would be the main features of the iPhone 8. And then on the S8, we have VR. VR is a pretty big feature of the S8. So you can buy something like a Gear VR, and then you can use that with the S8. The iPhone doesn't actually have any first-party VR headsets, so yeah, hopefully soon, Apple. What else? Well, on the S8 we have USB-C, we have micro SD card expansion in case you want to increase the storage. Then we also have a larger display that you can get with the S8 Plus if you get an S8 Plus. And then the S8 also comes with much more premium headphones in the box. So AKG tuned headphones, which do sound quite a bit better than the Apple ones, so than the EarPods. So that's a pretty cool thing. And then with the S8, you can also buy the external DX dock, and you can even turn your S8 into a PC, sort of. It's not a full PC, it's not running Windows or anything. It's still running Android, and Samsung's TouchWiz scan over it, so it looks a bit weird, but you can do that if you really wish. You can attach a monitor, a keyboard, and a mouse, and I think it's pretty cool. Not that useful, but still pretty cool. And then a really cool feature on the S8 is the always on display. So since it's an OLED display, the iPhone 8 also has an OLED display, but you can actually see the time and all of your notifications even when the display is off, which is awesome. This is something that we haven't seen hinted, by the way, in iOS 11, in any iOS 11 beta, or even the HomePod firmware. So it might not be happening on the iPhone 8, even though I think it needs to happen definitely, but we haven't seen any hints now. So always on display at the moment. We only have it on the Samsung Galaxy S8. We obviously have it on the Note 8, and yeah, you get it. Yeah. What about the battery? So battery size wise, the iPhone 8 is expected to come with a 2700 mAh battery, which is actually smaller than the 3000 mAh one that we get with the S8 or the 3500 mAh one that we get with the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus. It's still smaller than the S8 one by about 300 mAh, but battery life should be about the same, since iOS optimizes resources pretty well, but yeah, maybe a tiny bit better on the S8 since you do have a slightly larger battery. Okay, so what about all the models and the capacity, the storage options that you get with these phones? Well, the Samsung Galaxy S8 comes in 64 gigabytes as the baseline option. Now there's also a 128 gigabytes model with 6 gigabytes of RAM, but that's really, really difficult to get. It's only in China and South Korea. It's really difficult to get, so it's usually just the 64 gigabyte model. That's the one that you will find in pretty much every single store, Samsung store or phone store, that is. And you can of course upgrade that via a micro SD card to up to an extra 256, so that would be up to 320 gigabytes, which is a lot. The iPhone 8, however, is expected to come in two configurations, so 64, 256, and then there's also a rumored 512 gigabytes model. But yeah, 64 and 256 are definitely coming. Okay, so what about the price? Which one of these phones is cheaper? Well, the S8 actually starts at £689, I believe. That would be about $720. And then the S8 Plus is more expensive at about £780 or $840. Now, the iPhone 7 Plus actually starts at £720 or $77 for the 32 gigabytes model, so the baseline one, instead of the 64 like you would get with the S8. The S8 also comes with an SD card port, so yeah, that would be the starting price for the iPhone 7s Plus as well for this year. This year we're getting 3 iPhone models, so 7s, 7s Plus, and then the iPhone 8. Now, the iPhone 8 is going to be a bit more than that, than the iPhone 7s, so more expensive than the iPhone 7s. So the baseline model would be 64 gigabytes, and it's going to be about 800 to 850 pounds, or that would be between $900 to $970 or so, which would obviously increase for higher storage options. And so yeah, the iPhone 8 is more expensive than the S8. So in the end, which one is better, the S8 or the iPhone 8? Well, honestly, it depends. And I know this is always the answer, but the S8 is cheaper, but it's also less powerful. The iPhone 8, however, is Apple's biggest redesign and the biggest change ever since the original iPhone back in 2007. So in the end, it all comes to which services do you actually prefer? Do you prefer using Apple apps, or do you prefer using Samsung apps, or do you prefer using Google apps by any chance? I prefer using Google apps, for example. They actually work really, really well on the iPhone as well, contrary to the popular belief. So if you prefer Google apps, you're okay with both the S8 and the iPhone, with either of these. But yeah, let me know in the comments which services do you guys prefer. Now, I am going to do a much more in-depth comparison once the iPhone 8 finally releases in a few weeks. Now, I just wanted to give you a general idea of all the main differences between those two phones, just to give you a good idea. So yeah, this has been pretty much it for this video. Feel free to subscribe if you want to see more in-depth comparisons like this one and more in-depth videos. And also be sure to enable notifications on my channel if you wish. That would be pretty cool. You can do that by simply tapping on a bell icon and you'll be notified as soon as I upload a brand new epic video. Also, let me know in the comments which one of these phones would you actually pick and why. And also, if you made it until the end of this video, and yeah, feel free to give this video a like if you enjoyed it, so let me know. And this has been pretty much it. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I'm Daniel, and see you guys in my next one. Zen of Tech, signing out.